Stands out among America's great men as the leader who proved that democracy can overcome tremendous problems and still survive. That freedom and a government that protects freedom are worthy of men's faith.
With a task before me greater than that which rested upon Washington, I bid you an affectionate farewell.
On April 14th, 1865, Abraham Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth, a fanatic Southern sympathizer. And he...
1861, Abraham Lincoln took the oath of office, solemnly swore to defend and preserve the nation on the brink of civil war.
We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. It may have strayed. It must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union. When again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature.
It's up to us to keep that flag waving, Teddy. But in the desperate months that followed, President Lincoln found it hard indeed to keep that flag waving. The gray-clad legions of the South beat back every Union invasion.
Sure. In giving, we set an example for all mankind.
I hope so, Mr. President.
But you don't think so?
I approve of the principle. But after nearly 2 years of war, I believe the South would be willing to compromise if you refrain from issuing that proclamation.
No, sir. Our forefathers believed in freedom. Their bloody footprints.
All of us know something about this man, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln, the president, who sadly guided the nation through a tragic war. Lincoln, the speechmaker, who clearly discussed the problems of his beloved United States. And Lincoln, the storekeeper of utmost honesty. But we will show you Abe Lincoln, the boy. And
409 years ago at Gettysburg, a tall, gaunt traveler arrives from Washington to dedicate a national military cemetery. He is Abraham Lincoln, President of an America engaged in a great civil war, testing whether this nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal and long endure. The President has come to consecrate a portion of the Gettysburg battlefield as a final resting place for those brave men who sacrificed their lives that the United States might live. For the humble Lincoln, this is a trying hour as the procession passes between throngs of solemn townspeople. The President arrives at the cemetery, which was a bloody battlefield only 4 short months before. With measured step, he mounts the flag-bedecked speaker's stand. Before him are many veterans of the savage Gettysburg fighting and 15,000 persons who are to hear a magnificent, moving definition of democracy that has become a cherished chapter in our American heritage. In this inspiring reenactment of that never-to-be-forgotten day, Lincoln's immortal words ring out.
But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead,
who was forced into the war he had sought to avoid. Things went badly for the Union at first, and in September 1862, the North was shocked by Lee's invasion of Maryland.
We must have more troops, Mr. President. I don't see how we'll be able to stop Lee with what we have.
It's my understanding, General McClellan, that your forces outnumber the forces of General Lee
That's true, Mr. President, but my troops have not had sufficient training, nor are we getting adequate support from Washington. The politicians are trying...
Now, General, you don't need to tell me what the politicians are doing. They want to run the war. But then, so do you generals, and so does everybody else.
After all, with a war in full swing, don't you think the generals ought to decide how it's to be fought?
No, General, I don't. There's no one in the nation who's more grateful for advice than I am. Anyone who can tell me how to save the Union will receive my undying gratitude.
Well, then I believe that...
But in the long run, saving the Union is my responsibility. The people have entrusted me with the Union. It's a great trust, General, and one that I'm doing my best to be worthy of.
The War Department feels very strongly.
General, you're commanding the armies in the field. It would strengthen your position were you to deliver a victory for the Union. Now, please leave the victories in Washington to me. I'm afraid I'm being forced to make all the decisions. The squabbling and turmoil are reaching monumental proportions.
Lincoln assumed direct control over the military, and a series of generals tried unsuccessfully to stop the brilliant Lee. Finally, Lee was repulsed in the Battle of Antietam, and President Lincoln, who had been waiting for a Union victory, now decided on a momentous step.
But we'll lose a congressional election this fall if you issue this proclamation.
Let me read you a piece by Artemus Ward. It's called The High-Handed Outrage at Utica.
Mr. President, this is a serious meeting on a serious subject.
Yes, Mr. Secretary. The situation is serious. And I know that some people object to my jokes and pleasantries. Well, others would probably do better in my place. And if anyone else could legally take the job, he could have it. But I'm here, and I'm doing the best I can.
You'd be in the Army. You know, politics don't bother us.
He'd rather go fishing anyway. Father.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hello, Colonel Lee.
Hi, dear.
Father, I'd like you to meet Captain George Custer.
Oh, but of course I met the captain at West Point when he graduated, didn't I?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Custer.
I'm fine, Colonel Lee.
We've heard good things about you. Congratulations.
Yes, the captain's just been telling me how he put down the trouble in Kansas by himself.
Splendid job, pile, Mara. Splendid. Wasn't there also a chap named Stewart, Jeb Stewart, connected with that campaign?
Stewart? Yes, sir. He was around. Shall we dance?
Maryland. The road to Harper's Ferry is blocked. Unable to get through.
Jefferson Guards and the Winchesters under Lee's command passed through Upperville an hour ago. They will be the first to arrive at the ferry.
This is a picture of the noble features of the great emancipator. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to see the original of this painting brought to you in the flesh. Introducing Mr. Lincoln.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
On this February day of 1861, Abraham Lincoln departs from his hometown of Springfield, Illinois, to take the highest gift within the power of the American people to bestow. It is an hour of great danger.
No one, not in my situation, can appreciate my feeling of sadness at this parting. To this place, and to the kindness of these people I owe everything. Here I have lived a quarter of a century and have passed from a young man to an old man. Here my children have been born, and one is buried. I now leave, not knowing when or whether ever I may return, with a task before me greater than that which rested upon Washington. Without the assistance of that divine being, whoever attended him, I cannot succeed. With that assistance, I cannot fail. Trusting in him who can go with me and remain with you and be everywhere for good, let us confidently hope that all will yet be well. To his care commending you, as I hope in your prayers you will commend me, I bid you an affectionate farewell.
Lincoln walked alone.
No, not alone. Faith leads, and courage is his companion.
In 1862, the first Homestead Act was signed into law by President Lincoln. This Homestead law,
government by presidential decree. But Lincoln's bold executive leadership saved